All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of the Big Doug and Carmi Show, your one-stop shop for all things Commanders. First timer on the show today, George from the Full Command Podcast. Grant Mitchell is here. What's up, Grant?
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be with y'all.
We're excited to have you. One of the new young guns in the content creator business, and we sure are looking forward to talking with you a little bit. Grant, how'd you get started in this thing?
Well, first, before I answer that question, I'm going to need you to repeat that young part because my comments have been calling me Unc lately. I don't know what happened. I'm 28 years old, and they are all calling me Unc. On YouTube, they send me the little Unc alert stickers, and it's just that someone changed their name to Grant Mitchell is Unc. That is their new YouTube username.
I'm like, guys, what did you post? Why are you
nothing? I didn't do anything. I was just being myself, and one person said it. I guess I gave them the reaction they were looking for. And it's caught on now. But
old soul.
Yeah, maybe I can take that as a compliment. An old soul is much better than just being told.
Granted, if you're an uncle, that means I'm a granddad, and I don't know what that makes George, but I need to be uncle. I'm too old to be granddad.
Yeah, man. But to answer your question, how the channel gets started, in all honesty, it was out of frustration. So I'm not going to lie to you guys, and I've told this story before, but I went to school to be a journalist. I went to Virginia Tech, got a degree in that stuff, and that's what I wanted to do. And a couple of years, more than a couple, filling out applications, trying to get like a beat reporter job or just anything for any team, really. I mean, ideally, it would have been the Commanders, but any team. And I could never get an email back. I could never even get a first interview, much less a second one. So I was like, damn it, I'm starting a YouTube channel. I'm taking it into my own hands, and it's just blossomed into this beautiful thing, and it's changed so much. I feel more emboldened to speak as a fan, whereas before I was still very much trying to be that robotic sort of journalist style like I was taught in school. It's funny whenever people complain on Twitter or whatnot, why do the reporters ask these questions? And I'm like, I went to school for this, and that's exactly what you're told to do. So it's been fun kind of actually branching out and being able to be more of myself and use my emotions as a fan. But yeah, long story short, it's been a very cool journey so far, and I'm excited to see what else is in store.
About as long as Grant's been on this earth, I also got a communications degree. And I'm telling you, Grant, I think maybe of the 40 or 50 different communications people I graduated with, I think I know 5 that are using that degree. Most of them are general managers at restaurants or something similar to it. So I respect the concept, because you're right. It's one of those deals in communications where degree sounds great, hard to get somebody to let you use it and pay you a living for it. George, we should become educators like you.
100%, man. Just like Grant, I was a journalism major at first. It's a hard industry to get into, man. It's very competitive. Our passion is here. The reason why we do this content creation, because we care about it, we love it, we want to talk about it. But it's just a hard industry to get into. But I'm glad, this new generation where we have this content, where we have this platform, and we're all doing a good job. It's great.
What's the biggest thing you've learned, Grant, since you started the YouTube channel?
Oh, that's a really good question. Damn, I didn't realize I was back in the job interviews that I was getting caught down from. The biggest thing that the biggest thing that I've learned is, I think, actually, no, I know that what the answer is. The answer is you have to be yourself. Because if you're trying to be someone else that, might have followers or whatever you're after, well, that person's already them. So people, if they want that, they have that fix there. And then a lot of the times, if you try to be someone else, you're not being authentic to yourself. So you will say things you don't believe in, and you don't say it the same, or you might backtrack on your words, or you might get called out for things you don't even believe, but you thought that it was the right thing to do. I've also told this story before. I had one of those incidents. It was like a month or two into me being on YouTube, said something I didn't believe. I'm not even going to lie, because it got traction online, and it made me look like a total ass, and I got killed for it. I should have. And I was like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. So that's the biggest thing. Even if it's the unpopular opinion, which a lot of the time it is. People call me an idiot for things I believe in, and half of it's right, half of it's wrong, but that's just how I see it. And you got to own that.
I love it. Couldn't have answered it better, right, George? I mean, that's what we're looking at. All right, let's get to the game for a little bit before we eventually take a look at what the roster might end up looking like. George, I told you, I did not need to see Jaden Daniel out there with anybody. And that was exactly why. They ran 3 plays. None of them were any good. You knew they weren't going to put him back out there. And so I would ask you what the point was. Now we wait 20 some odd days before we actually get to the first game of the season. And I'm not sure we'll know any more than we did now. What was the point?
Let me start, then I'll have Grant jump on this. So, Grant, I was pro Jaden getting some playing time because I wanted to see him get out there and go through the whole process. The one positive that I will say is that it increased the sense of urgency for the team, right? I think maybe they could have been kind of resting on their laurels. Like, hey, our offensive line is going to be okay. Our offensive line is going to be fine. We can go into the season and everything will be okay. But the fact that there was immediate pressure, the fact that Good Jones does not look good, and the fact that there's so much pressure up the middle kind of put the pressure on Adam Peters, and maybe it's going to be proactive, maybe a catalyst to maybe go change the offensive line and to get some more players there. So I think that's the one perk. I think our defense looks strong. I think we didn't have our starting defensive line out there, but we were generating pressures, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and for a touchdown. We definitely were very impressive there, and I think we'll only get better as a result of that. But I think we saw that. Like Jaden Daniels, if we are going to protect our most important asset, we got to surround him with some better offensive line talent, in my opinion. So even though it didn't look good, the talk of today was, hey, what the hell was that over the weekend? Like all of us are really upset by it. But I think that's good. I think it sparks conversation. It sparks change. So that's the one silver lining that I'm finding.
George, they had Josh Dobbs looking like RG3 in the Vikings game.
Exactly. Grant,
they still got wheels. Grant, we hadn't talked to you before the Detroit game. What was your opinion as far as playing Jaden Daniels in that game?
I'm very pro play the players. And I know that people are worried about injuries. And I mean, I get it. Every fan of every team is worried about their quarterback getting injured. So yes, it's valid, but also it doesn't strip away the necessity to get these guys ready to play games. And especially with the start of the schedule, looking the way it is at Philly, at Dallas, home for Seattle. Not only did they win the Super Bowl, but they demolished you at home last year. So the best way to get ready to play football is by playing football. And yeah, kind of sucks. Julian Good-Jones was going to be in there. Kind of sucks. The offensive line has been moved around. Well, guess what? Right now, apparently Matt Goldman was getting reps at the ones today, but still right now, Julian Good-Jones is your center in week 1. Laramie Tunsil is not playing in week 1. So those same adverse circumstances you'd be getting in the preseason, you'd be getting against Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and that whole front line. So like, you got to get used to it. That's my perspective on it. So this whole worrying about injury stuff, if you want to worry about injuries every single time you watch a football game, like more power to you. My heart can't take that sort of stress levels. It's just part of the territory. That's the same reason that I'm not freaking out that Laramie Tunsil tore his triceps and all these other things happen. Because I tell you what, that's happening all around the league. It sucks, but it is the nature of playing a violent game like football. So I did want to see them. I did want to see the starters out there in the against the Lions. After this first series went the way it did, I was like, well, I would still like them to go out there and get another series because they basically got 2 plays. After those first 2 plays, it was like, it's over. And you didn't learn anything. You didn't get any sharper. I think, George, you make a great point, though, that it did increase the urgency. But as far as getting ready to play football, that was an exhibition of nothingness. That did nothing for them.
And if they had run the ones back out there for another series and it was another 3 and out, are you running them back out again? I mean, at what point do bad drives, you throw the towel in and say, okay, we're done for the day?
No, if they went back-to-back 3 and outs, I probably would have stopped it there. Really, I mean, even if they didn't score, if Jane threw a pick or there was a fumble or something, it was basically, again, 2 plays. I know they ran 3 because they called the draw, but that wasn't part of the offense. On 3rd and 21, that's not something you're trying to install, a draw play. So I just thought that if they had gotten even if they got a first down there and then they punted on the next set of downs, just would have liked more reps for the offense because I don't think that really did anything for any of them. All it did was, again, like George said, it probably increased the urgency, but that word urgency, that's from a responsible perspective. From the fan base, it increased the panic, and that's probably the worst outcome.
See, I guess as I've gotten older, I'm less risk adverse because on that drop back that Jaden does, if he sprains his ankle or breaks the ankle, what again, I guess I'm just not, the season's over when Jaden Daniels gets hurt in the preseason because you decided to run him out there for 3 plays. So while I understand the concept of injuries and how they happen and not worrying about that in a violent game. I also can't see my racehorse getting hurt before the season started in a game that literally does not matter.
The one thing I will say, and it might be kind of polarizing, and people might not necessarily love this comment, is we haven't seen Jaden Daniels, I believe it was week 14 of last year. There's only 2 times last year where he played consecutive games back to back. I know he had an awesome 2024, and in 2025 he was injured throughout the year. I think he's a very talented quarterback. I think he looks great during training camp, but I don't think it's ready to say that he's arrived yet. We want to see him prove, and we want to see him develop more. And like, if we are scared to play him on the field, like, hey, we can't even put him out there because we're afraid he's going to get injured. He might not. I mean, I think he is the guy, but there's a reasonable counter argument. Like, hey, we can't even put this guy out there because we're afraid he's going to get hurt. That shows a fear factor. Like, hey, is he truly a franchise quarterback if you can't rely on your number 2 overall pick? I don't know if I'm being like too sensitive or too over, like, being too critical, but I think that's something we should always consider as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they were worried about him getting injured because he was injured so much before. I just don't know. I if I'm Dan Quinn and I feel like at all there's heat on my seat and he damn well better feel the heat.
Good point.
Like I'm just not doing it. If I'm Dan Quinn, I can't do it because I'd have to keep my eyes closed while he ran those 3 plays, praying that the man came off the field with the backup center giving him snaps. Listen, they did it. Everything was fine, I guess, but I couldn't have done it. I just couldn't have done it. Now, maybe they wouldn't have done it if they had Mariota. Maybe they could have gotten a better look at all the other offensive pieces and not had to worry about it. But that was a risky proposition to put the man out there for 3 plays.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
I'm never going to try to predict what Dan Quinn's going to do because he's like, I view him as one of the most conservative coaches in the NFL. And then I heard him say in a press conference the other day, he's ultra aggressive. And I was like, what are you talking about? Where is this period of self-reflection?
Yeah.
But then he does things like he puts Jaden out down 38-7 in the 4th quarter against the Seahawks, which I don't remember your guys' stance on that. But my stance was those were not developmental reps. And that was just flat out stupidity, if not negligence, malpractice from your head coach. Again, he says things like, we need Drew Stevens to get the reps. Then when he's the opportunity to let him kick a 62, whatever it was, yard field goal, back-to-back weeks, he sends out the punt team. Like, DQ, it's a preseason game. Nobody gives a damn if you lose. You cut Jake Moody specifically to give him these reps. And the beauty of it all is these coaches love joint practices because they can control the environment. They can do things like say, we're starting on the 40 or we're starting on the 20. Don't let them score. Well, if Stevens misses that kick, they're on the 40. And it's a great training exercise saying, look, this is the situation. It's the end of the game. We're up by 2. They cannot get into field goal range, so go hold them. That's if he misses. And if he makes it, then you go, well, damn, we got a real kicker on our hands. So I will never try to understand Dan Quinn. I don't get the logic of going Hartman and Kaliakmanis, then Hartman and Kaliakmanis. I don't know why Good Jones warmed up with the 1s today at practice, and then it was Goldman getting the reps with the 1s. Like, I don't understand that man at all, and I'm not going to pretend to.
Exactly. Well, let me follow up with that question. So what is your stance on Dan Quinn going into year 3? I think he's a good culture builder. I think he's a good – the players love playing for him. But I'm curious what your thoughts on him as a head coach. And he does seem to kind of talk out of both sides of his mouth. I mean, part of the job is being PR and kind of like alleviating the stress for the fan base. Like he keeps saying every single day, we're content with our offensive line, we're content with our centers, but clearly there's a problem in all of our opinions. So I'm kind of curious, what are your thoughts on Dan Quinn? And on top of that, I guess, how do you feel he's handled the center position over the offseason?
Well, first and foremost, I respect Dan Quinn, the man. My respect level could not be higher. I think I totally understand why people want to go play for him, why people have so much respect. Even down to Sonny Styles saying that he gave him his phone number during the draft process. And no matter what happens, like, call me if you have questions or anything, I'll be there to help you out. I've never even met him, and I respect him to that level. I would love to meet him one day just to be able to talk to him and be like, talk about leadership and respect and culture and things like that, because I think there's a lot to learn from him. With that being said, I think we are in an age in the NFL where so many of the head coaches are play callers that if you have a culture-based head coach, you're falling behind. And I get that there are some success stories. Dan Campbell right now, probably the best example of that. He's not a scheme guy, but it's the Mike McDonalds and it's the Ben Johnsons, it's the Kevin O'Connells and the Sean McVays and the Kyle Shanahans. Those are the guys that are in vogue that everybody wants. And I'll tell you right now, looking at this Durante Jones defense, I know they haven't even played a snap in the NFL regular season yet, but I'm telling you, if he walks out that building at the end of the year, I'm going to be like, damn, I would rather have Durante's scheme than Dan Quinn's culture. And that might be polarizing, to use your word from earlier, but that's where I'm at with this. And I think DQ's in a really weird position as well, because I think he's in the hot seat on both ends. Let's say the team goes 6-11, 7-10. You got to go, dude. I mean, we got a franchise quarterback, back-to-back losing seasons. That can't run. On the flip side, if they go 11-6, 12-5, and this defense that was flat out horrific for the last 2 years is like top 10 in the league, can you afford to let Durante Jones walk out of the building? Because there's a very clear line there. DQ will not be the reason the defense turns around this year. If it does, it will be Durante. David Blau at 30 years old, if this offense all of a sudden leads the league in scoring, and again, they finished 12-5, David Blau is that boy genius offensive coordinator that every team wants. So in a strange way, I think DQ's best path to keeping his job is actually going like 8-9 or 9-8. I think either extreme could actually get him in trouble.
I guess all of this conversation leads to the roster and the construction. And we're looking at the offensive line and what they really hadn't done to address some of these things. The wide receiver room was looking putrid until they added Diggs. So, George, I'll ask you first, what year 3 of Adam Peters, like, has he done enough to really make this roster? Like, I understand that he got the benefit of bare cupboard syndrome. I get that. And it was. This is year 3 now, and he basically had all of his picks, if you add them up together, sort them out over 3 years, he hadn't missed out on that many. And in fact, he used some to get premium players like Tunsil.
Yeah.
But it is not a deep roster by any means.
I don't know. I think I disagree with that. I think the roster is pretty deep. I think the high-end talents was what the concern, in my opinion, right? What I like about with Adam Peters, I think he did build the roster very, very well. And you got to look at it big picture-wise, right? His biggest flaws, his the chink in the armor is the 2024 second round. All 3 of those picks are hurting right now. Actually, I like Mike Sanders, so I'm rooting for him. But he's feast or famine. He'll get you a turnover or he'll get burnt one way or the other. Like, that's the deficit there. Johnny Newton, he's underperformed. He got hurt. He's out for probably most of the season, maybe all the season now. And then Ben Sinnott, he's kind of a work in progress for me. I think he hasn't shown much, but I think he wasn't a fit for Cliff Kingsbury. So I think in this system, and Grant, I know you've been out at camp as well, Sinnett's actually looked pretty solid in camp because they use him as like a H-back, a fullback. I think he's going to be used differently in this system, so he might show more moving forward. That being said, big picture-wise, I think the team looks a lot better now than it did when he first got it. Like, Doug, you and I talked about it before. Like, and Grant, I'm big on the defense. I think our defense is kind of, like, I don't want to say star-studded, but it's pretty stacked. I think, like, Leo Chanel, Sonny Styles, Odafe Owe, Clavon Chason, Amik Robertson, I think, and even Tim Settle, and I think we're building a pretty solid defense. I think it's going to be great fits for what Durante Jones wants to do. Getting Stephon Diggs, I think, is a great wide receiver. I'm glad he was proactive about that. Like, he came into camp, we had a deficit of wide receiver. They added one. We also have Chika Conko, who's going to be a pretty good tight end. I think the biggest flaw and the biggest error right now is our offensive line. But, he also got Laramie Tunsil. He went out and got him. Like, it's funny when you're trying to build around a quarterback, a franchise quarterback, you either get the offensive weapons or you build the offensive line and the defense. And I think he went the second route, right? He wanted to build the offensive line. He wanted to build the defense to kind of insulate Jaden. Laramie Tunsil tricep injury. It happens, it sucks, but it happens. And, Connolly, I'm happy with. I think Connolly will be okay. But I think he's more of an athletic, more of a finesse type of tackle. And I think you just kind of have to develop him and get him thicker. He's only, 21? Sorry, I think he's 22 or 23 at this point. He's very, very young for his age. He'll get better moving forward. So, altogether, I think he did a pretty good job. But it's very easy in a high stakes. People are very, very passionate about this team. So if there's one thing that goes wrong, they basically get very upset with it. And I will say one more thing. He did mess up on the Marshawn Lattimore trade. That was a whiff. However, being aggressive and trying to get a quarterback one, you need a cornerback one, you need a left tackle one, you need those premium positions. He went for it, but it was just the wrong decision, in my opinion. I'm curious, what do you guys think?
Well, real quick before you get in there, Grant, I'll say this, George. everything you just mentioned is fair, but basically that was this year's free agent class
Yeah,
in
I mean,
Tunsil, right?
yeah.
Like, they, other than drafting Sonny Styles and Jaden Daniels,
Franchise
what?
quarterback. And then I also think, I mean, it's a
Yeah, the
layup, like
number
number
2
two
pick,
overall
George. That
pick.
was going to happen no matter what.
That's true. But then on top of that, I'll say one more thing. I think this class, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it all plays out. I think Joshua Josephs is kind of showing something as a potential standout player. I think he's looking pretty good so far. Antonio Williams might be a good pick in the third round. We'll see how it all plays. It's year 3. We got to see it come to fruition, in my opinion. Josephs looks pretty good. I think he might be kind of a diamond in the rough in the draft. And Kate Allen too. But Grant, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been very pro Adam Peters because his process has been pretty spot on. Now the results haven't always panned out, and I get that, but he's approached it intelligently, which is something we haven't seen here in decades.
Yeah.
So when you look at this team compared to the 2024 team that made the conference championship game, like, this is leaps and bounds ahead of that team. If Jaden Daniels is a constant, if he plays the exact same way he did back then, this team would win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. The rosters are just not even close. So I can't not give AP credit for that. I mean, when's the last time we had legitimately difficult roster cuts? We're going to have some of those this year at safety and linebacker and maybe tight end and previously offensive line, maybe not so much anymore. Defensive tackle even maybe. So I have to give him credit for that. Where I'm starting to where I'm running out of patience a little bit, because I've always given him time with the draft picks. I've said he drafts off potential, he drafts off athleticism. That's very clear. So obviously they're not going to be ready on day one. Otherwise, they wouldn't be these potential base draft picks. So I've always said, let's wait until like year 3 and let's really start to judge these guys. That first 2024 draft class, we are now in year 3, and it's not really looking how he wanted it to. I mean, Jordan McGee, they've groomed him to be the green dot, and he's like linebacker number 4 right now. Yeah. You've got the second round class that we talked about. Jaden is phenomenal, but if we're going to be fair here and kind of going back to the earlier argument, like, everybody's still worried he's going to get injured. So if he's not playing, I mean, then what good does it actually count for if he's not on the field? You get to like the Dominique Hamptons of the world, who's not even on the team anymore. And Javonte Jean-Baptiste, while he's been getting better at camp, I still think he's going to miss the roster. So we are in that window where I said I would be judging his draft picks. And now that it's time to judge them, it doesn't look good, especially again, when we talk about the second rounders, because I don't think Mikey's very good. And I think he's in a system that is meant to maximize him. And I still don't think he even starts. So I'm like, what's he actually going to give you? And I do like Ben. I think Ben has shown a lot at camp, but it's been a lot in a sort of specific role. That's not what you should be for a second round pick. You should just be a really good football player, not a role player. And then Johnny Newton was not good at all. And I'm not trying to kick the man when he's down, because frankly, I was saying this before he got injured. And now what's the likelihood he comes back off a season-ending injury and is the best he's ever been in the NFL? I think it's very low. In fact, I think there's a chance we've seen Johnny play his last snap with this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he's cut or traded next year. Yeah. So, again, intelligence is there, process is there, thought is there, but it's also time to nail some of these picks and some of these moves. To your point about the Lattimore thing, the Debo thing, I get the logic behind it. He had to make those moves. It just didn't work out. And you can only play that game for so long of like, yeah, I was right there. My thought process was correct. But at the end of the day, if you turn in your paper and it's a math question, you got 19 of the 20 steps right, and then you got the 20th one wrong and your answer's wrong, that's all that matters.
George, pull up the, do you have the 53 there? Let's look at the offense real quick.
It's a great pivot to talk about the roster. That's fantastic. Let me pull it up right now. Give me 1 second. So, guys, what we're going to do right now, it's a great website. I just kind of figured it out the other day. I don't know if you guys have been playing with it so far. It's called Predict the 53. It's awesome. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to pull it up. We're going to look at the roster, kind of walk through the different position groups to kind of go step by step, kind of like, get Grant's thoughts, get all of our thoughts basically on the team. So let's start off with the QB room. I think it's pretty easy to kind of break down. Doug and Grant, what are your thoughts on who Washington's going to keep for the 53 moving forward?
Go ahead, Grant.
I've always had 3, and I am not wavering in that. I've got Jaden, Marcus, and Athan.
Okay,
yep,
very good.
Same with me.
And I think Athan's been looking really good. I think honestly, I don't know how much you do like scouting for the draft. Grant, I know you got you do film work. I know you do that, But I didn't really know much about Athan coming into this. He's actually impressed me more than I thought. I think he's actually looking better than I'd imagined, honestly, so far.
Yeah, this is definitely the best that he's been. He showed some arm talent in Rutgers, especially that last year, but he's taken a step in his development. And I'll make this like 15 seconds. I was one of the only people supporting the 7th round pick because my thought was always, this is a money-saving move. They think Athan can be as good as Mariota and cost $7 million less. And like, if you look at cap hits, Nick Cross's cap hit is about $7 million. And Chig Okonkwo's is about $7 million. So if you can add another Chig or Nick Cross to this roster by picking Athan, then it makes all the sense in the world.
Gotcha. All right, so let's look at the running back room. So I think it's been pretty interesting so far. So let's kind of walk through this. Maybe Doug start off, and then Greg can back him up.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. We talk about people that did themselves good in that Detroit game. It feels like Robert Henry Jr. took all of the momentum he had and just threw it out the window as the car was driving down the highway. So I would imagine that anybody that thought he was making the 53, I think he's definitely a practice squad guy. I think it's easy. I think it's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Rashad White, Jeremy McNichols, and then I guess you're wondering if Kaytron Allen can be snuck onto the practice squad. If you don't think that he can stay there, you put him on the 53. If not, you probably don't put Kaytron on the 53, and that's how you get yourself another tight end on the roster. Because I do think once we get to tight ends, there'll be 4 at least that make the 53.
Interesting. Grant, what are your thoughts?
So I've had them keeping 3 running backs throughout this entire process. As we get closer and closer to it, I've considered keeping 4, but I actually would put Kaytron as the guy, not McNichols. McNichols is my 4th guy. It doesn't help that he's got this quad injury. And I mean, for all we know, he might end up on IR because his exact wording, Dan Quinn's, was something like he's got a real quad injury or a somewhat serious quad injury. It was a typical Dan Quinn-ism where he didn't really say anything, but it sounded like it was more than just a bruise. But I think there's the 3 backs there. Kaytron's your power guy. Bill is your electrifier, the leader in the backfield, and Rashad White is the pass catcher and pass protector. The fact that Bill has gotten a lot better in pass protection also lessens the importance of McNichols. I know McNichols plays teams, but it really just depends on how we shape up this roster. If you keep 4 tight ends, 5 or 6 linebackers, 5 or 6 safeties, those guys play teams as well. So I would still lean 3, but I would put Kaytron over Jeremy.
I'm a good hybrid of both of you guys. I totally agree. So if I were going to pick 3, I think it's Krosky-Merritt, Rashad White, and Kaytron Allen. I think Kaytron Allen's pretty safely on the team. I think he's our power back. He's our short yardage back. He's the guy that's going to fall forward and move the chains. I think they do like Jeremy McNichols, but I think they're going to be creative with him with an IR or practice squad. They're going to find a way to get him on the team, but not necessarily on the week 1 roster because he is injured. So they'll find a way. But they'll get, I think Kaytron's their guy. He's going to be
JP put a post up a couple months ago, and I wish I still had it. Maybe I bookmarked it, and I'll share it. But the numbers for Jeremy McNichols, and the injury situation, I get that. But just the numbers for Jeremy McNichols, if you didn't realize it, are eye-popping. It's like 5.2 yards per carry once they get into the red zone. It's like 4.2 yards after contact. The numbers were ridiculous, and it's something probably a lot of people don't realize. And of course they like him. Injuries, obviously,
I think they like him, and I think he has a clutch factor for sure. I think Jeremy McNichols does move the chains. I think they do like him, but I think walking into week 1, they like Kaytron Allen, and I think he is kind of a he has some cachet to his name. I don't know if he can get him through practice. I mean, he could probably get through practice squad, but like people know he's a leading running back for Penn State history. Other teams might be kind of curious about him, maybe pursuing him potentially. I could be wrong with that, but I just think he has some cachet behind him. So we'll start off with these 3 for now. Wide receiver room. This is the talk of the town, man. This is every single day I'm on Twitter talking about this. I think it's a big deal as well. What do you guys think? Who wants to start this one off?
Go ahead, Grant. You start this one off. I'm curious to hear where you're at here.
So I've always been a 6 receiver guy until I became a 7 receiver guy.
I saw a 9 tweet the other day, right? Is that what you said?
That was a joke. No way they're keeping 9. That was more so saying that pick up the phone and let's make a trade here. Now, that opens up a whole can of worms because, like, is a team really trading for De'Ami Brown? Is a team really trading for Van Jefferson? The answer is probably no. And I mean, they're not trading Diggs or Terry. So at that point, we're talking about Luka or Lane. It's probably got to be one of those guys, or it's like Treylon and a pick. So who's it going to be? But if we're just assuming we're going as things are, Terry and Diggs are obviously untouchable. Antonio Williams is untouchable. Lane is doing punt returns. He can do that at a borderline all-pro level. Luke's doing kick returns. He can do that at a borderline all-pro level. And also, I think Luke probably still like leads training camp in catches so far this summer.
I agree.
So we're at 5 guys there who, I mean, I just think it's almost impossible for them to miss the roster. Now we get to De'Ami and Treylon, who for me are ahead of Van and Jaden Bradley, even though I really love what Jaden Bradley has shown. When I was keeping 6, I was campaigning for De'Ami because you don't know how available Treylon's going to be. With that being said, Treylon has made the majority of the big plays in camp. And to his credit, ever since that second day with foot soreness, which freaked me out, I was like, really, dude? Second day foot soreness? Ever since that moment, he's been available and he's been producing. So I've got them keeping 7. It helps that De'Ami can play teams. He can play gunner a little bit. They've also had him returning kicks as well. So I'm leaning 7. This is the one that I'm probably shaky on, though, and it does depend on some of the other positions.
Let me say one thing real quick before Doug, I'll throw it over to you. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I think there's a hard 5. Those hard 5 are already set in stone. It's going to come down to, do they keep 6 or 7, and it's from those 2 or 3 that you mentioned, in my opinion. I think Van Jefferson is off the team, in my honest opinion. I think Jaden Bradley is going to be a practice squad guy. I think it's going to come down to De'Ami Brown and Trey Burks and what are they going to do. It's funny. Trey Burks, I think, offers something a little bit different. He's that bigger wide receiver. He's kind of more unique, that red zone possession receiver. But the last 2 shows that we had Martenzie Johnson, and we had another person, Doug. They both were like De'Ami Brown's killing it like over the last couple of practices. Denton Day was all about De'Ami Brown too. That's right. But Doug, what are your thoughts?
I would go with 6, and I personally would pick De'Ami's speed over Treylon's size. I think they have enough size. I think Stephon Diggs kind of does the same thing with the crossers and the intermediates. Same thing with Chig. So to me, I need speed all day. I'll take De'Ami's speed.
So let's do this. I'm going to give you the De'Ami Brown because we had a tie record for the running backs. Grant, my question to you: are we keeping 6 or 7? Do you want Trey Burks, or are we just going to keep rolling?
Well, I feel like I won the last tiebreaker, so we can go 6 for now, and then we can circle back if we need.
All right, sounds good. All right, let's move on to tight end. This is a pretty hot room right here too. So, whoever wants to start off.
Obviously Chig makes it.
Okay.
John Bates makes it. Ben Sinnott makes it. And then you got to figure out whether you're putting Colson Yankoff on the team. It feels like, from everything we've heard and the big thumbs up there, that Grant feels the same way. We haven't had anybody in the last month, George, not come on the show and tell us just how excited the team is about Colson Yankoff. So I will believe them. And that's why I said I think 4 is easy. I think the Lawrence Cager love is a bit overstated. I don't think we'll see 5. I think the 4 is all but a guarantee. Particularly, as we talk about all the time, George, if they're going to run 12, 13 personnel, let's have more tight ends, more people we can get on that line and give some help to the tight ends. Cager's been, by all accounts, and Grant, you've been at camp, by all accounts, Cager's one of these guys that's great in camp, in the game. You know, what was it? Practice like Tarzan, plays like Jane. So God bless Lawrence Cager. We'll see you on the practice squad.
I think I'll get a practice squad, but Grant, is there anything additive you want to say to that?
No, it's got to be Yankoff. And he's caught some passes. He had one against the Lions. Actually, that's not true. It might have been the Dolphins, where he was like sliding when he caught it. He just looks very athletic, and we talk about the combinations of Sinnott and Shig or Bates and Shig. Like, you could actually make some real interesting stuff happen with Yankoff and Sinnott as your 2 tight ends on the field, because they both catch, they're both fast, they're both really good movement blockers. So I think there's a lot of deception you could cause. But yeah, I think this is easy. You got to keep all 4.
There's a world, George, where they could be playing 14 personnel with no receivers out there.
Well, I was gonna say, if you actually when I went to camp and I saw Kosciuszko, he threw me off at first because he wears number 80 and he looks like a wide receiver when he's out there. He's not a big bulky guy. He's more of like a fluid
former quarterback, if I remember correctly.
I think he's like a slash. He was kind of like almost like a quarterback, like a running back. He has some background there, so it's interesting. So
old school with slash there, George.
Yeah, old school Cordell Stewart, right? So
yes, that's right.
All right, so
that's right.
This is funny. So they have a weird listings on center. What we could do is we can keep 2 centers potentially, and just kind of like center X or something that we pick up later on if we want to go that route. But I guess I think it's safe to say that Matt Golden's going to make a team. He's a 6th-round pick. He's not going to cut anybody on his team. Do you think that they are going to pick up someone that's a free agent potentially, that's a cut from another roster, or do you think they're going to make a trade for someone to potentially have another center?
I'm still thinking, and I don't like saying this, don't misconstrue this as this is my opinion. Yeah. I don't think they're going to add anybody, which would absolutely be the wrong answer. And if they do that, I will criticize Adam Peters heavily. That will be his biggest mistake if he enters the season with the center position, and moreover, just the combination of the center and the left guard spot looking the way it is right now. I mean, AP didn't want Chris Paul back. Let's make that very clear. He let him fully test free agency, and then he brought him back on 1 year, $3 million, which I would love.
The league didn't want him either
in his world.
Exactly right.
The league didn't want Paul either.
Yeah, exactly.
George, your boy Josh Taylor reached out to Graham Glasgow, who said he'd be willing to put the pads on. Got a little experience in the system.
Dude, what a crazy social media world. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but what about another I'm not giving him credit, but he went to his Instagram page and he saw Glasgow playing like on Twitch, like playing Call of Duty or something, and he asked him a couple of questions. And Glasgow's like, "Dude, I'm down. Like, reach out to me, Commanders. I'm down. I'm open to be joining the team." So that's a potential option. We'll see what happens there. All right. So what I'm gonna do for that one, I'm gonna do Golden, and they have Alec Grady listed as guard here, so I'm just gonna select them. So we're saying they're keeping 2 centers. They're not gonna add a third.
Yeah, they got Julian Good-Jones there at guard too.
Okay.
If they bring in another center, does he get cut?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Good-Jones is gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to keep 3 or 2 centers?
The thing is, as it stands right now, they have to have Good-Jones on the team, because if Allegretti's not playing and Golden gets injured in a game, you don't have a center.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So we want to keep 3 just kind of like to have that coverage for now, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to, but yeah, we have to.
Okay.
Not these 3, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be 3 bodies there eventually, right? Okay. So offensive tackle, obviously we're keeping Connolly. I think they have Wiley listed as guard, so we'll keep him as well.
Fellas, after the Raiders signed what's his name to that huge contract, they've got the center from Oregon that they drafted a couple of years ago, Powers Jones. I mean, would you be interesting in shipping the Raiders a 5th-round pick? Like, at what point? Like, how big? Where do they get the center from? They cannot go into the regular season with the current center room, can they?
Like I said, if they do, it's AP's biggest mistake. Right. Yeah, Powers Johnson. I don't know what the Raiders are doing. He's a better center than he is guard. They moved him to guard before they got Linderbaum. Right. Like, maybe I would understand now, but it's the same thing with Golden. I mean, we saw it in week 2. The guy's not a guard. He's a center. And it's like that with Powers Johnson. He's an upgrade on what's in that room right now, and he also probably wouldn't cost that much. So I think that's the guy they should be targeting.
And I think, if we're Grant, I don't know if you have been like following my thoughts on the draft. I'm all about keeping draft picks and investing, kind of fostering the. I think that's the best way you build a team. And I hate being in a deficit, but I think because the center position is so dire, we have to potentially look at a day 3 pick to kind of throw at a center if we need to. So I wouldn't be opposed to it, Doug, if we have to. That's the best option, but it just kind of sucks that we're always fighting at a deficit every single draft class for whatever reason. So, gotcha.
I agree, but there is. Let me throw this out there, and I understand that this is trading away depth, which isn't a smart idea in a vacuum. But if Brandon Coleman has a really good year, you might be able to trade either Tunsil or Coleman, probably Coleman, because Laramie Tunsil, and like actually be able to get some capital back. Because let's say Coleman goes out there and has a really good year. I mean, you do have both tackles already, and he's not just going to want to go sit on the bench. And it'll be the final year of his rookie contract. So there's a chance you can get some assets back for that. So maybe that's the other side of it. But I'm with you in the whole approach to roster building.
100%. Guys, let's push. I have to get off in 5 minutes. I'm gonna push.
Yeah, no, that's good because here we are, George. Let's just do the offense.
We can do defense if you
I mean
want.
that's 24 out of the 53. You take 3 off, obviously, for your special teams, and I think this is probably how it works out, right? They'll probably put 25 on the defense, 24 on the offense with your 3. I think the biggest thing on defense before we get out of here is just quickly that I think they'll put the extra. Madrano probably makes the team over one of like say who's over like say Fabian Moreau, right? Like I think they probably keep an extra linebacker for teams and only keep 4 corners, I'd suggest, particularly since we know that they're going to have safeties coming down into that big nickel, big dime more than I bet that the corners do.
Let me throw one thing out there. I don't know. I think Fabian Moreau, I think he could potentially make the team because he kind of knows the defense are already coming from Minnesota, and I think there's some value to that. I'm concerned. I'm curious what your thoughts are, Grant, about Trey Amos. I think he's a solid player. I think he has a size. I think he's very appealing. But the fact that he hasn't played since week 10 of last year and hasn't come through training camp, that's a concern to me because a lot of us are It's funny. The narrative flipped over the past week. He was clearly CB1 about a week ago, and now everyone's freaked out. Like he's not going to play this year. It's just kind of the fear kind of flipped over from one side to the other. So I think he's going to be fine once he gets back into the groove of things. But I think they might keep a Fabian Moreau, just kind of keep things balanced there. One thing that I saw when I was working through this, I think Tyler Owens is going to be pretty interesting, man. And I kind of hate to say that because like he has been kind of up and down over his career here, but I think his size is very intriguing, and I think Durante Jones likes that 3 safety set. So I'm curious if they kind of view him mostly like a linebacker, maybe like a hybrid in regard to that. Like he has been a lot of nickel potentially.
That was a lock as far as I'm concerned. I can't imagine a world where he doesn't make the team. I mean, Percy's got to make it. Quan makes it. Tyler makes it. Nick Cross makes it. Jeremy Reeves makes it. That's it. That's the safety room.
I think it's 4 locks and then a 5th spot for either Will Harris or Quan Martin. And based off preseason, I mean, Quan it's 10-8. It's a knockout.
How about this? Steph Diggs went out to practice today in number 3, if that tells you anything.
Exactly. And he switched from 18, which is Owen's number. So
right. And Will Harris is 3. So I mean, I think that really kind of sums up what they think about Will Harris. So
cool.
Grant, you crushed it today, man. This was great. Thank you for doing this, man. We would love to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Let me throw in one final take here because we were building the roster there. I don't think Dietrich Wise makes the team.
I was considering. What are your thoughts? What's your rationale behind that?
I mean, he just hasn't practiced football, and we're less than 3 weeks away now from the season starting, and we're talking about the 53-man roster. And even if he's fully healthy, he's the last guy in that room to make the team. And someone like Ali Cajo plays teams and plays it well. Maybe him not being there is the difference between Jeremy and McNichols there. And I think they would rather keep McNichols than Wise. And if Amos is still banged up, they do need a 5th corner, and it's going to be Moreau. It would be anybody. It would just so happens to be Moreau over Wise. So I think that spot is actually open, contrary to what a lot of people believe.
And I think it was Denton George that told us that Dietrich hasn't. You don't even see him at the building anymore. No. So I think a guy that had so much potential here, we probably won't ever see him on that little bit in the Giants game, which is sad. George, you got to run. So this is it for us. But Grant, seriously, man, this was great. You're killing the game.
Thank you, guys. And like I said, I love listening to you. So I was really excited when I got the DM and asked if I wanted to come on. So I appreciate you all having me.
Awesome. Thanks, appreciate you, buddy. Thanks.
All right, man. Peace.